This is my favorite Ventures loadout in Fortnite Save the World. I want to say it right now. You can use this build in regular missions as well, but it works great in Ventures because it doesn't require you to have any weapon in the game. You can just use it and get right to work. How it works is you have to kill an enemy somehow. Throw a drone, kill an enemy with your weapon, whatever. But as soon as you get that chest, those peg legs plus Cloaked Shadow means you can just kill an enemy with your peg leg as a melee, activate Shadow Stance, and everything around you starts dying. It's not an insane amount of damage, so much that it's going to carry you to higher power levels and let you be sleeping while you're getting carried, but it's good enough to take care of the enemies at your power level and maybe even a couple of missions above it. It is so satisfying to just eliminate the babiest enemies in front of you and then watch mist monsters tick away from all the damage. If you're in a healing death burst mission, this can kind of counteract Cloaked Shadow, but if you're not in a healing death burst mission, every enemy around you is just siphoning health 1 second at a time. It is so satisfying, and at the right power level, it's a tremendous amount of damage. Now, if you want to build this loadout, let's talk about how it works. Like I said, this is my favorite Ventures loadout, and I am currently recording this during the Blasted Badlands Venture season, and you don't need to use that during this season. I'm showcasing this as a Blasted Badlands loadout. I promise you it'll work in any of the seasons. It works best in the winter season. So this season has no energy generation, but we don't need energy anyway, and we're not really using abilities as much. So we're kind of just ignoring the entire modifier, and we're using a loadout that works any season. The one season I don't recommend using this in is the Bouncy Husks season. That's last season, but whenever you hit an enemy with a melee, they just launch away. I don't like that. I never use knockback on my swords in Minecraft, and I don't want it here. But let's focus back in on this season and how this build works from top to bottom. Cloaked Shadow is my favorite commander for this. Editor's note, Cloaked Shadow is normally available in the last 2 weeks of the Frost Knight season, so if you want to pick him up, that's your window. Otherwise, you're going to have to voucher him. He is not the best commander. You could use Assassin Sarah to do more melee damage overall. You could use Battle Beat just to swing faster and do more melee damage. Shout out AS, he's been championing that hero. You could use our Queen, Luna in the lead. All of those would be excellent if you just wanted to buff the peg leg damage. I personally really enjoy Cloaked Shadow. You saw the gameplay in the beginning. You know what I'm talking about. Being able to hit everything around you at the same time is so good. And he's only being talked about now because he got buffed in a recent update. I'm going to link that video in the description down below. A lot of heroes got hit. There's a ton of information in there. And if you haven't played in a long time, you should definitely watch it. I was really thorough in the description. Archer wrote out the values. I prettied it up and I timestamped it so that video is super easy to follow. And it's a really good resource to see what happened to this update. Suffice it to say, the hero that we're mentioning here got tripled in damage, and it makes a difference. Now, I am using Blakebeard Stash because I like to be consistent in the season. Blakebeard Stash is activated from Blakebeard the Black-Hearted. He was available last season. A lot of these pirate heroes were available in the pirate season. He is voucher only now if you missed him, so that's kind of what it is, but timeline and description, I highly recommend bookmarking it so you guys can keep up. He will not only increase our cannonball damage, which is nice, but he unlocks the team perk Blakebeard Stash, and in his stash, every 5%, so every 20 kills on average, even though it never seems to work that way, you'll get peg legs, coconuts, and cannonballs. Peg legs, as mentioned, are super strong. They got nerfed in that update, but they're still very good. They scale to the highest power level that melees can be, and that kind of correlates with your commander. So if your commander is underpowered for the mission, you might not experience that, but so long as you're running a 130 hero, which I think most players are, and if you're not there yet, you will be soon, and your peg legs will be supercharged in the end game if you have supercharged your commander. So there you go. So those peg legs will scale to the highest level they can be. They'll do a ton of damage, of course, and they have a base 43% chance to crit and a 320% crit damage. It's a ton of damage, really strong, and nowadays you can only hold 6 of them, which shouldn't be too big of a deal, but we'll get onto that later. Coconuts, I've said this 1.5 million times. I think they're the best support perk in the game. We're using Crossbones Barrett because he adds a damage bonus to the coconuts, and we can also now have a chance to find them in containers. We're going to be getting enough from Blakebeard Stash so that it doesn't matter, but coconuts give you a 33% of your health immediately, 30 seconds of residual healing, and with Crossbones Barrett, a 16% damage bonus, which does affect Cloaked Shadow's aura ability and the peg legs and the cannonballs, which is awesome. So obviously using Blakebeard to buff the cannonballs as well, and Swab the Deck, which is here to buff the club damage of the peg leg. She's the only hero in the game that directly buffs club damage, which is kind of weird, but yeah, the final thing in here is cannonballs. You throw them, they explode into 3 more projectiles. It's actually a lot of damage, and because you can only hold 8, I recommend starting most altercations by just throwing the cannonballs. I know that we're going to be focusing on Cloaked Shadow. As a YouTuber, I'm going to showcase his ability the most, but when you're playing normally and you're not just worried about his ability, throw the cannonballs until you're low. You know, throw them all the way down to 1. You'll get more from the Blakebeard stash. They're super strong. It's kind of like a pocket Jabberwocky, and the Jabberwocky's awesome. Which, little factoid, by the way, Blakebeard stash, that cannonball damage affects the Jabberwocky, the Bowler, the Cannonade, and probably something else that I'm forgetting. So he's actually a really versatile hero. For the rest of the build, you got some options here. I'm using Battle Beat because she helps you swing faster and do more damage, which affects, of course, the peg leg, and Paleo Luna because she's great. And for the longest time, her added damage counts as 2 kills for Battle Beat instead of 1, so she can kind of activate in 5. In the current version of the game I'm recording this, that got nerfed, but now it works and doesn't. I don't really know. Like I said, the commanders I mentioned earlier are still there if you want to use them instead. Assassin Sarah just buffs melee damage. This is Lotus Assassin Sarah because I'm a founder and I like to use her, but Assassin Sarah is a base game hero that everybody has access to. You could use Corrosive Strikes to do more melee damage. You could do anything you want. You could use Fumble if you want to drop some footballs on the ground, which also activates that Rock and Rift to swing faster, do more damage. You got every option that can make sense. Just scroll through your ninjas and see what works. If you want the full picture on ninja loadouts, I'm going to link that in the description down below because that video is super thorough in explaining all of the best ninjas for melee builds. But like I said, I'm going to stick to Battle Beat. This is what I've been using in pretty much every Venture season. So yeah, one more thing before we hop in game, I need to talk about Venture's level because me and my viewers are always going to be at different levels, and I'm so focused on videos that I don't always level that quickly. Today, I am rocking with some higher power level players, and because I don't want to just be carried in my videos, I am going to be showcasing this in a 108 zone. My boosted level is 95. That means I'm about 13 levels under where I should be, and I honestly think this loadout is going to perform fine. So these guys needed a cat too. Let's hop in game and check it out. All right, I'm going to be recording this bit just because I want to show the reality of using this build. All right, I'm not just going to fudge the gameplay by starting when I have Blakebeard stash. Sometimes it takes some effort to get started, and sometimes your teammates steal your kills even when they know you're recording for a YouTube video, so it can be a little tough to get started. And this is kind of exactly what I'm experiencing. Now, I could damage an enemy with melee, and we could all enjoy kind of all that extra damage. Battle Beat's activated, and I'm going to use Adrenaline Rush just to stay alive, but it's still not smooth sailing. Sometimes you finish off a group of wild enemies and an entire encampment just to get one Blakebeard stash bundle, which is all we need. We just need one to get started. Get the coconuts in place, peg leg here as well. This has nothing to do with the rest of the video, but I wanted to let you guys know that later on in that stream, I got my chest on my very first kill one game. I'm so excited. That has never happened before, and I really wanted you to know that. Now we can start killing stuff a little easier. Drones putting in some work and pick up the loot. There we go. You can see that damage is so high, even on like a bigger target like a fatty. I am 13 levels under, by the way. I could probably go to a much higher mission than this because these guys are going down really easy. Now, there's a nice little encampment right next to the objective, and these are my favorite things because crowds of enemies are perfect. So, like I said, you eat a coconut, throw off the cannonballs, you're going to get more, and honestly, I might finish off this entire encampment with just cannonballs, or almost. Yeah, they're really, really good, and it's important to use everything this build offers. Throwing the shurikens are really nice as well, getting in range while the Cloaked Shadow is activated. Everything dies, and we barely swung our melee at all. Clean up these lovely ladies here. There we go. You just kill one, and then the other one just kind of fades away. All right, we got some natural enemies crowding around here. I don't have any more coconuts, so this is just the beauty of the build. You kill one target, and then for 4 seconds, you just get free kills. Even a big boy like him just goes down so easy. You kill one basic target, and everything else just dies. Now, we're getting unlucky with our chests here, so I'm going to actually loot a couple of bushes. It's pretty easy to get coconuts from these in the deserts. If you're lucky, I was not, so I'll just starve, I guess. Oh, wait, no. We got a couple more chances here. Okay, no coconuts for me. Sounds like a typical experience. Now, I guess we can get some kills from over here. Thank you, teammate, for the adrenaline rush. We're going to start the storm chest in a second, but again, I want to just showcase how satisfying this build is. Once you get the ball rolling, you should be able to keep going. I did waste some of my peg leg durability on an animal earlier. There we go. All we need to do is get lucky a couple of times. I've had a lot of angry comments from people who did not get lucky. You can see I actually ran out of peg legs there, but so long as I can run away, there we go. Use Cloaked Shadow as much as possible. If you need melee kills or something, go crazy, use your peg legs, but you can see the overflowing cannonballs are really great. Now that actually does really good damage versus a taker, so just gonna use these, and I think they count as ability damage, which might be boosted by the rage modifier. I'm not sure how to test that, but it does at least cut through smokescreen, which is kind of a big deal. Good loot on that storm chest, by the way. All right, another crowd of normal enemies. This time, I don't need to start with a coconut, but I'm going to. Start with the nurse just because she's the highest health and she'll heal everybody. And yeah, just kill everything super easy, barely an inconvenience, get some loot so we profited, jump away. Look at that. The enemy to the left was nearly dead before I ever even saw them. That's the passive killing ability of Cloak Shadow and why I love using this hero so much. Now, one thing this build is not good at is killing big targets. Now, I never claimed this was a perfect loadout for every situation, but even with cannonball spam, like, yeah, we got the wrong element. What you can do, and I've done this before, is you can back a smasher into a corner, and then all the cannonball damage is used in full effect. The best tip I have is to do this, basically. Kill an enemy nearby, then use Cloak Shadow damage to try and chip away at it. But with the mismatch element, I'm doing half damage here, and it's just brutal. You can see it's possible, but this is much better for crowd clearing and physical mist monsters, albeit it's still pretty strong. Oh, looks like we do have an encampment. Bloodier said he marked one. This is clearly one. By the way, these crafting material encampments are really, really good. Oh, did I run out of cannonballs? I did not count that properly. That's okay. These are really, really good. They can give you almost any resource in the game. It's really, really powerful. We'll probably see that from whatever I get. Need to eat another coconut and hopefully get some chests because the economy of this build is really, really tough. 5%, 1 in 20 is really, really brutal. And look at that, right? Husky just dying over time. You need to get a lot of kills on average to very regularly get these chests. Killing an entire major encampment like that and only getting one is tough, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. Now, I don't always do this in my videos, but pylons are really great. Look at the health on the bottom left. Let me actually top off just so we can get a clean number. 175 all the way up to 219. It's not a ton, but staying alive better is great, and extra health means Paley Luna will do more damage, which is also great. All right, let's get this mission started. As it is Ventures, and we are kind of crushing it with the kills right now. Like, I queued this in a 108 zone. I probably could have queued this a lot higher. I think I might have undersold this build in my intro where I said maybe a couple levels above you, because I've used this build a lot with a lot of viewers on stream, and I never know, like, when I'm just being boosted and when this build is actually being good, but I think I would feel comfortable in a 124 zone. So anyway, I'm not going to be placing any traps because that's part of the point of this build. It's not an ultra strong loadout, or it's not intended to be, but it's also meant to be economic. You meant to just smack an enemy once and then let your aura damage just take care of everything from there. So there's a mist monster just dying effectively from the aura alone. You just kill all the weak enemies nearby and everything around you just falls. And I don't want to eat my coconut because I wanted to get more. Perfect. And this is what I mean about getting the ball rolling. If you use it efficiently and you don't spam your peg leg and you're in a zone where you can actually do stuff, you should be able to get more chests than you really know what to do with. Eventually they'll be sitting on the ground and there'll just be tons to pick up. And I kind of like that because when multiple people in the game are using this build, it can be really tough because you have to, like, share. It can be really tough because you don't always know, you know, if you're stealing a teammate's or if you should be stealing a teammate's. And if you're full on coconuts and cannonballs, then you kind of just can't pick them up anyway. I've had teammates try to steal my chest and then they just drop cannonballs on the floor. So yeah, and vice versa. I'll pick it up and I'm full and then they can just take it. And of course, you got to pick these up as you go. And that is a major gripe I have with the game. So I don't mention this pretty much ever because it's just a thing. But the fact that when you take damage, you can't open the chest anymore, that's a big deal. Kind of annoying. It affects things. It's not the biggest issue in the world, but with a loadout that is encouraging you to be up close and personal with the enemies, taking damage constantly, beehives, propanes, exploding death bomb, acid pools, it's really frustrating that any source of damage can stop you from using your team perk. And yeah, that happens. That happens. Lately, or at least in this video and recent games I've played on stream, Twitch link down below, by the way, I've been getting pretty lucky with my drop rates. You can see I haven't really gone broke yet, but you can also kind of see that it's a little close. Like, I'm not hugely profiting. I'm running out of resources more often than I'd like to, and that's a big deal. When you can't get your chests from the enemies, you functionally, look at that cannonball, you functionally don't have a team perk, and that matters. That matters a lot. Like right now, I am saving my cannonballs just so that they're positioned in my inventory properly. I might as well throw a drone at this point. I need to get kills somehow. There we go. Finally got one, which lasts a while, so I'll take that happily. Got 4 coconuts, or 4 cannonballs, I mean. Teammates might be using this build, but I'm showcasing it for you too. I'm just gonna grab that one. And throwing the drone also helps a lot. Smasher, physical, helps a lot that it's physical. That means I'm getting my full damage. Earlier when I was up against that water smasher, of course, I was doing half damage, which matters. And yeah, I'm trying to move to where the enemies are. Obviously, a 4-player mission would have been much better for me kills wise, but yeah, I don't know if these are mine from the drone or a teammate's traps, but I'm gonna take it. Thank you. And I'm getting full on cannonballs now. So like I said earlier, this is kind of how I recommend using them. Like once you're full up on 8, don't just sit there being full. Look at all that extra damage. And then of course they're 1 HP, so the Cloak Shadow just finishes them off easy. Yeah, don't just save your cannonballs and let them stack up to 8. Use them throughout the run. I'm kind of glad psychologically that they limited them to 8. I really mean that, because I used to use Blakebeard's stash with a melee build in mind, and then I would stack up to like 50 cannonballs, forgetting about them entirely, and then at the end of the mission I would go and throw them like crazy and hardly ever get my full use out of them. So the fact that I can't hold more than 8 is constantly reminding me to get in there, use my cannonballs. They exist. I'm down to 1 right now, so I am going to need to get a little lucky with some chests. I'm going to throw a drone. You know, I have them. I included drones in this build because, okay, I use drones by default, but I included them in this recording here because you are supposed to throw your drones. You know, just get any source of extra damage that you can. Traps, of course, can help a little bit. That will mean that if you have traps on the ground, then Blakebeard stash chests will just be all around the map, which is great. In fact, the drone from earlier, I don't know if this was mine or not, but I'll take it. I can't really see what team perk everybody's running, but at least that's still available, because I want to give this an accurate representation. I don't want to just ignore all my viewers who got unlucky and got angry about it, and I don't want to misrepresent this build. So if I have a teammate that's dropping chests on the ground, that can impact things, but it's not uncommon that people are running this anyway, so it's not an entirely unrealistic situation. Yeah, can somebody in my team type in the game chat if you're running this configuration? Because I want to know if all these chests are coming from me or if I'm just stealing my teammates' loot. But I have played this on stream when nobody else was running the build, and I stayed. It's Kieran? Okay, good. Kieran is running that. We'll just have that as a note. But I will say that I've ran this where I'm the only one running this build, and I have more than profited on coconuts and chests, everything I needed. So yeah, and even when I'm down here all by myself, like, I'm lasting just fine. Obviously, if I would have queued a 4-player mission, we would have had a lot more enemies to deal with. You can see this build is handling this just fine, and this is the big selling point of this build. This is why, even though this loadout has nothing specific about it to Ventures, there's Kieran dropping more chests. Thank you, Kieran. Even though it's nothing specific to Ventures, I still call it a Ventures build because I'm not using any weapons that I got randomly. Maybe in the intro I did. I'm not using any weapons that you need to get. You can just go. You can just throw on this build, start killing some enemies with drones or whatever, and then go from there. If you're a really low power level player, your drones might not kill targets. Something I can suggest is taming an animal. I know animals are far from the most consistent killing method, but they're free, they're right there, and animals actually scale to the power level that you're in. So that's a consideration. And yeah, another great example of how good this build can be for Riot Huskies, you can just damage them through their shield. So long as they are nearby to you, you will just be doing damage to them, and it makes them really easy to deal with. So yeah, I love this build. I might make a video for this build for like every Venture season because I like it. I like it so much. I won't even say that Cloaked Shadow's like the best commander or anything dramatic. I don't even think that's true, but he's just so freaking fun. And as a long-term player of this game, using a newly buffed hero is also really cool because Cloaked Shadow overnight went from pretty useless kind of D tier, maybe use him if you're brand new or you got Deimos, the starter pack, whatever. Just use him if you got him, I guess. He went from that status to like a genuinely good hero that you can see is keeping up. You know, he might not be as much damage as Assassin Sarah or Paley Luna in the lead, but I don't know. I'm not struggling. Like, I'm not struggling. So yeah, what I am struggling with more than anything is actually picking up my damn chest. Oh my god, he missed. He missed. The Riot Husky missed, so I could actually pick up my chest. And of course, you got to use these cannonballs so you can pick up more. Absolutely, if you have teammates dropping chests on the ground, you'll both be profiting more and more. it's funny. Technically, the drop rate of the chests is the same if you have 2 teammates, but more people killing more enemies more often just means more chests on the ground. You can see now that I've gotten the ball rolling, I am not running out whatsoever. Something I've actually done in the past is because these peg legs break really quickly, if I see that a peg leg is nearly broken, I'll actually break the peg leg before picking up the chest if I know I'm holding 6 peg legs. So if I have 5 full health peg legs and 1 weak one, I'll break the weak one just so that when I open the chest, I'm guaranteeing a peg leg that I can actually use. That's something I like doing. That's a little overkill. If you've already got 5 spares, it's not that serious, but you know, sometimes you gotta ration these, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're capped on coconuts and cannonballs. You just don't need to care anymore. Mission's ending in 2 seconds. Go crazy. Throw them at Maple if you want. You got all the cannonballs you could need and all the coconuts to keep you alive. So there you go. My favorite Ventures loadout. Do you see what I mean now? It's so consistent. It's so fun. Even after recording, I am probably going to continue running this on stream. I found this loadout 2 seasons ago, and then the insanity of the time that I was recording when I found this build, it was like Fortnite OG had just passed or had just been happening or something, and there was a lot going on, and then there was a whole venture season where I was on break. So this video should have hit the channel like 5 months ago, it feels like, or whenever that update happened. That update was 4 months ago. That is when this video should have gotten made, but I was just too busy. I was just too busy. I don't think OG overlapped with that at all. I think a lot of people came in with OG, then I was busy with so many things after, and then I just took a break. I really didn't want to make a video on this, but here it is. It exists now, so enjoy. Use it. Enjoy it. Enjoy your venture season. Subscribe, like the video. Go eat some ice cream. And then